The New York Police Department is launching a massive project to secure New York's financial district, an effort similar to the so-called Ring of Steel that protects London streets.
So critics are concerned about privacy. That's been a frequent complaint. But city officials say safety must prevail in an area that is already a proven terror target. Rick Leventhal, live in the heart of Manhattan there, and he has the story for us. Hi, Rick.
Well, good afternoon, Liz and David. You know, much of this is about cameras, and there are already some 2,000 privately owned cameras in Lower Manhattan. We can show you a couple right now. Underneath that building, right near the front door, you can see a couple of poles hanging down. Well, there are some 2,000 cameras like those on buildings all around this area, and they'll be linked. Cameras like these will be linked with 1,000 more cameras that are being installed by the city. All of these cameras will be tied together and linked live to a 24/7 monitoring station, and there will be other security procedures as well that we'll tell you about in a minute. All of this because the police commissioner says that Lower Manhattan is one of the, if not the biggest terror targets in the world.
You have the World Financial Center, you have the Freedom Tower, you have 3 buildings that are going to be built on the World Trade Center site. You have the World Trade Center Memorial, New York Stock Exchange, American Stock Exchange. So clearly, it's an area that needs extra protection.
So because of this, the New York City Police Department says it will now harden the 1.7 square mile financial district into one of the most secure areas in the world, not just with 3,000 cameras, but with hundreds more police officers, pop-up barricades, at least 130 license plate readers that will automatically scan license plates and alert the police if there's a problem, a stolen vehicle, that sort of thing. They may have other technology, too, like facial recognition programs, but privacy advocates say that there's no evidence that the system is worth the cost and no guarantees that the city will actually protect the privacy of the people who are recorded on camera.
There's a world of difference between somebody seeing you on the street and the government capturing the image of you on the street and putting it in your file for all times.
Well, the ACLU has filed a Freedom of Information request to try and get more details on this program that it says the police department hasn't yet revealed. The program itself is going to cost at least $106 million to start up, $40 million of that being supplied by the federal government, the rest by presumably mostly taxpayers here in the city of New York. And then there's going to be additional costs every year, guys. So this is going to be a very expensive project, but one that the police department feels is necessary.
Rick, thanks very much. Great to see you, Rick. Thank you very much.
The new security measures are a reminder that Wall Street and our economic system are the top targets for terrorists who really want to hit America.
Yeah, it ain't for nothing they did what they did on 9/11. Our Fox panel is back to talk about what it all means. Now, Mike Norman, on the one hand, security, we were there on 9/11. We remember very much what it was like.
That's right.
But I just looked up on IMDb this new movie called Look about how much our lives are going to be controlled by these surveillance cameras. There's something a little Orwellian about it.
Orwellian, you know, but unfortunately, I think it's just a sad commentary of the type of world we live in right now. You know, the terrorists, for the terrorists, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Look, Wall Street represents to them America. It's the bastion of capitalism. It's a bastion of freedom. They feel that the fastest way to affect us is economically. Okay, they're going to probably try again. I think there's a fine balance here. I think anyone rational would tell you that you know, on the one hand, we need to have safety, we need to have security. On the other hand, is it an invasion of privacy? Hopefully we'll be able to walk that line.
Peter Schiff is with us. Peter, I personally am so torn by this because on the one hand, you'll be really thankful if one of those cameras was on when you got mugged on the street, but on the other hand, it is getting rather onerous when you think of all of the cameras and the privacy issue that people talk about. Where do you stand on this?
Well, you know, it's kind of rare, but I actually find myself agreeing with Mike Norman on this one.
Yeah!
But yeah,
it had to happen.
Yeah,
look, it's a time of good cheer. The holidays are approaching.
But as long as long as it's, you know, it's the city government putting cameras in city property, you know, these isn't in private property. It's in the public domain, and the public knows that the cameras are there. I think it's unfortunate if we have to spend money on this, but if we have to, we have to. And if the public is going to have to pay higher taxes for this additional, you know, safety, then maybe we have to do it. But I don't think this is the same type of invasion of privacy as we talked about last time, where the government is taking records from private companies and looking through conversations and going on fishing expeditions. I think if there's cameras out in the open and they're looking at what's going on in public facilities, you know, I mean, we've got, you know, I've got no problem with that.
You're on. What do you think?
It's unfortunate, though, that we have to do it.
You're on.
It's
Go
unfortunate.
ahead.
I think for the most part it's going to be a big waste. I don't think we're going to you know, get the terrorists to change targets because of a few cameras. The terrorists will find a way around these cameras. No country has ever won a war with terrorism or anybody else on the defense, and as long as we rely on building walls around our country or building walls around Wall Street, you know, we're destined to just be surprised one day at, unfortunately, another September 11th like scenario.
Nicole?
If these things really worked, if they were really effective, you know, I would buy, I might buy the argument, but I think this is just a waste and indeed a violation of our privacy.
Nicole, it helped in London after the financial district bombings.
Right, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that it could help a little bit, but I mean, I agree with Yaron that, you know, there is a question of just how much this would stop terrorists. If they're hell-bent on attacking Wall Street, you know, they will try to find a way. And the other question, too, to me is, you know, who's going to have access to all this footage? And, you know, I would like to see some sort of limitations or know who's going to be able to see all this footage.
Who controls the cameras? All right, thanks to our panel. In the meantime, the closing bell is a little over an hour away.
And let's see, 133 is what the Dow Jones is at now. The NASDAQ is also up. It's a good day on Wall Street.
You can email us, Liz and Dave, at Fox Business.